What follows is for news and entertainment purposes only. Any use of the forthcoming information in violation of any federal, state, or local law is prohibited. Mike North, you are on fire.
You know anybody else that good?
No.
No, they'll tell you they are. They may think they are, but we're documented every single week. The eye is on us.
That's
and I ain't
right.
talking about the eye of CBS, the public eye. The first feeling I got when I won a bet was elation. The worst feeling was when I lost a bet and I wanted to jump off a balcony.
Give me a quick betting tip.
Yeah, do win and don't lose, but usually it doesn't always work out that way. How many times you heard this? I'm going to Vegas. I go, how'd you do? Well, if I lost $4,000, but you go there to have fun. No, you go there to win. And that's what's wrong with people. They have the negative mentality in anything they do, including sports, before you even laid the bet down. So you got to be positive. Vegas Scores and Odds is the landing place that gave me an opportunity to handicap. They let me show what I could do, and there's packages, there's free picks. What does Vegas Scores and Odds do when you perform? They reward you, and they take care of you, and that's why we're ready to do this show.
Vegas Scores and Odds presents the Mike North Advantage, and it begins right now. That's right, the Mike North Advantage starts right now. I am Aldo Gandia, Mike's wingman, and it's Wednesday afternoon. That means it's Vegas Scores and Odds presents the Mike North Advantage. Mike has 3 free picks for you for tonight's action. We're also going to talk about those Cubs and White Sox. What a game one of that crosstown series with Eloy Jimenez hitting a broken bat home run to win the game for the White Sox. We'll preview tonight's game, Lucas Giolito versus John Lester. What a pitching matchup tonight. We'll talk about that NBA draft that's coming up. I'm sure Mike has lots of confidence in Garpax to do the right thing. We've got to touch on the Chicago Bears because they're still talking about that 100th celebration, and so we'll get Mike's thoughts on the history of the Chicago Bears and much more. Enough preview, let's get to it. Mike North, how are you, my friend?
I'm great, Aldo. God bless you, man. What a show. We're rolling. We're getting it done. Vegas Scores and Odds, the whole ball of wax, 2-0. The last 2 days there, winning, with a Monday night I won my game here at Bears Bar Room, coming back last week, 2-0, and won. It was really a rain-out-like type game, only I jumped off, if you remember, because of the great chat board folks who brought in, one of the guys called in and said, Mike, it's not Edwin Jackson pitching, it's somebody new, and then I found out that Stroman was pitching, so I jumped off that game. I would have lost that game, so I end up going 2-0 with some help from my friends, and we're having a great time. And before we go on, Aldo, I just want to say this to everybody out there. You can go to Vegas Scores and Odds right now. You'll see me on Twitter at North to North. Saw my good friend Carmen DeFalco copy it today, and he hit it, so he knows I'm 4-2 in my last 7 days. Hockey, they just came out. Hockey standings, I was number 1, 46-30 overall over the last 2 years. So we got NFL getting ready to come up, and boy, do we have some great guys. Just punch in this number, 1-800-808-3419 for a free pick and info for the premier handicapping site in the country, VegasScoresandOdds.com. The only site you'll ever need was expert handicappers like John Anthony, Dennis Macklin, Tony Sacco, Ray Monahan, yours truly, Hollywood, and all them guys. Check out the homepage, VegasScoresandOdds.com. Check out the tote board with me. I'm up there, and I'm second all time with my picks, going for the coveted 200 over 500 mark soon. It's going to be as big as Denny McClain's 30th victory, folks. Pick packages range from daily to weekly to monthly, or even about a year. How about that, the whole year? 1-800-808-3419. Get that free pick at 1-800-808-3419 right now. Check out those guys. Check out that pretty stuff that Aldo puts up for Vegas Scores and Odds. The great just marketing stuff that he puts up for us is just second to none. Does a great job. So Vegas Scores and Odds, and follow him at Vegas Scores and Odds. Good to see our Twitter handle go from about 485 for them to about 512 now. Let's keep building like we did here. I remember when I started at Bears Bar Room back, seems like forever ago, but it's been fast. We had 4,800 now. With all the hard work from Aldo, everybody tweeting each other out, we're over 8,000 now. That's growth, folks, and it's going to continue growing. Aldo?
Mike North, that promo that you just did there was outstanding. I wish I could get to a point in my career where I could knock it out of the park.
I just went off the top of my head, but ask me what I had for breakfast. I don't know.
You must have had a lot of coffees, what you must have had.
Man, I've been drinking coffee all day because we're on such a roll. I mean, it's just a beautiful thing. Then we got the Cubs Sox thing on, which is, to me, still one of the top rivalries in all of sports that nobody talks about.
Yep.
Bigger than Cubs Cardinals. Bigger than, I'm telling you,
yes.
The Cubs Sox, I've been to games, they've been brutal, they don't like each other, and last night, don't think the White Sox winning that game didn't feel playoff type of what could happen to them down the line in front of a full house, in front of America's team, and knocking them down.
Yep. Hey, speaking of you going to games, I've got a clip here that I found. I think it's courtesy of our friends over at NBC Sports Chicago. Ozzie Guillen, your old pal, was asked about the rats at Wrigley Field. I'm going to play his response, and then I want to ask you, because you worked at Wrigley Field as a vendor, and you've been there as a fan and a professional analyst many, many times. I want to ask you if you've ever seen any rats. This was Ozzie's response to that question.
Blue-legged or four?
Any legged.
Oh, go ahead. All right, go ahead.
Okay.
Believe me, I never see one. I did it. If I see one, I will let you guys know, but I never see one. But the players and the manager and the coaches playing in this park, they did tell me there's rats out there bigger than Sammy Sosa.
That is hilarious. Rats out there bigger than Sammy Sosa. Now, have you seen any when you've traveled out to Wrigley Field?
When I worked there, I never saw one. But I will tell you this. Doug Buffone told me in 1969, and they were having a bad enough year as it was, and we had the locker room in the left field corner. So remember, when you'd see the Cubs win back in the day, you'd see them walk down to the corner in left field. That's how old this ballpark was. And they didn't change it that long ago. Mm-hmm. And Butkus and Buffone moved next to each other, and they thought it was each other. They're smelling something. And then the rest and they practice there too. So for about a week, they're going in there every day. They checked the top of the locker, there was a dead rat. One. He told me straight up. But I never, in the times that I worked there, but think about this. Look at all the food they have there. It wasn't a real clean place until they remodeled it. It was in what was once in the 60s and 70s a very poor neighborhood. Mm-hmm. There's food and beverage all over. Take it from a hot dog guy that he used to have the exterminator come out every 2 weeks to my hot dog stand to make sure everything's copacetic. The last thing you want is one bug crawling across the counter. So there's no doubt there were, but they're good hiders. Yeah. If you're going to have a hide-and-seek Hall of Fame for animals, the rats got to be there.
Yeah, exactly.
All I keep hearing is that there's more rats than people. Well, they're good hiders. So they should be in the hide-and-seek Hall of Fame, along with me when I went to school, and I didn't go.
Yeah, there are a lot of really great rat stories, Wrigley Field. Like, for instance, with all the recent development around Wrigley Field.
I bet you that happened.
Yes, there a lot of people who own apartments and homes in that area were visited by a lot of rats once they started with the bulldozing and moving of concrete and so forth.
Wow.
And then I heard a story about the guy who, for many years, operated the Wrigley Field historic scoreboard.
Oh, yeah.
He had a lot of friends up in that scoreboard with him.
You know what? It was great to see my nephew. It's crazy. My nephew, Doug North, he's on Twitter, @DougNorth. He's a school teacher, and he's also a vendor. And I think he's been a vendor like 25 years. Well, Schwarber's home run or something, I turned and flipped around a little to see how my bets were doing, and I get the Cub game on, and Kelly Crow from CSN Chicago is interviewing my nephew, the vendor. And I didn't know I guess she just talked about the experience of being a vendor and everything else. So my guy Doug my nephew got about 5 minutes of good publicity during the ball game. Not 5 minutes, a couple minutes of good publicity during the ball game last
Awesome.
night. So good for my guy.
That is great. All right, let's talk.
Oh, yeah, we hand down the vendor's tray from one generation to another.
Hey, I got to tell you, my man, Joey Two Scoops Mandel, who does a lot of work here at the bar room, I went to a Sox game with him, and my goodness, he's got like about a dozen family members running the concessions over there. His stepfather, a guy that you know from back from your days at Basta Pasta, and right now I'm drawing a blank on his name. Doggone it. He knows you and knows B from back in those days, and he wanted me to say hi. I'll get his name by the end of the show.
Well, maybe he's listening. He could put it out there. A lot of great people at Basta Pasta. Yeah. I'd like to know who his uncle is. I know of the agent Steve Mandel and other people. I do know this, that those were great times. So I met a lot of people at Basta Pasta. That was my hangout joint when I wasn't downtown. And, I mean, they opened up at 5 o'clock, so I was there right on time at 4:30. Believe me when I tell you this.
I love it. All right, let's get into that game yesterday, because it really was a special game for several reasons, and probably the number one reason had to be the performance of Eloy Jimenez, who was a member of the Chicago Cubs, and he was traded to the White Sox in that Carlos Quintana trade. And this was the moment in the ninth inning where Elo set Twitter afire with this.
There's the go-ahead run, standing at first base.
Jimenez in the air, left field. He's your hero tonight. Welcome to Wrigley.
He cracked the bat on that swing and still drove it out of the park. The bat shattered in his hands.
Thanks, Cubs.
Thank you, NBC Sports, for that highlight. Amazing, Mike, that he cracked his back and still hits it like 380, I think they were saying, out of the ballpark. Amazing.
That's a great trade.
Yes,
I mean, it's a good trade for both teams when both teams win.
Yeah.
But for the future, that's a pretty good trade. Kenny Williams, Rick Hahn. He's got Kingman-like power.
Oh, my goodness.
Big man. I was really impressed, and like I said at the beginning of the show, and I don't know if that was picked up on, sometimes it's not the physical experience of winning a game. It's where you win it, how you win it, and what effects it has on you. I said it was playoff-type baseball. That's what that rivalry is. Mm-hmm. So they get the young guys like Eloy and these other guys are playing a veteran team that's been talked about. They can't get any newspaper space for themselves for the most part, although they do a pretty good job of it. They're not as ignored, the White Sox, as much as they were maybe 10 years ago, in my opinion. Yeah. But it gave them that feel of what it would be like to get to the next level and win a game and win it in that fashion. And overcoming the Schwarber home run to start early, playing pretty decent defense, pitching good. So this was a very good night for Rick Renteria and the Chicago White Sox. And as I look at the standings, folks, I got to be honest with you. If you told me that the Sox would only be 3 down in the loss column to the Cubs at this point, I'd say you were out of your mind. And the worst thing that could happen to Joe Madden is if the White Sox have another big game tonight and start catching up to a Cub team that basically, lately, doesn't resemble the 2016 team. So it's a very good time right now for the White Sox.
This has to be worrisome for the Cubs, who their hitting is so up and down. And to get slapped in the face by Eloy Jimenez, who would have looked great in that lineup, to get slapped like that by Eloy has to have Theo Epstein wondering, did I really make a good trade there? Quintana is a third or fourth pitcher in the rotation. Maybe I should have, if I'm going to trade Eloy, maybe I should have traded him for Chris Sale, not Quintana. But I just got to believe that the White Sox were the big winner of this, because this guy, Eloy, could be hitting home runs for the next 15 years, and the Cubs are saddled with an offense that is just so up and down.
Yeah, but you know what? I think Quintana's been good for him, and I think this is a more of Quintana being an immediate need for the Cubs. So I understand why Theo made this move, and he's a reliable third rotation or fourth guy in the rotation, which is hard to find, and a pretty good quality pitcher. You know, then you got Hendricks, then you got I think they still have a great rotation. Darvish is coming around. The other thing will never ever sit right with me, but you know, you got to let that go.
Yeah.
Bottom line is that I think that it was a great trade for both clubs, but in 3 to 4 years, it's almost like Zion with New Orleans. Everybody's having a big hoop-de-doo over Anthony Davis, who, by the way, has never won anything, and LeBron getting together, and ignoring the fact that in 4 years, New Orleans, I believe, will dominate the LA Lakers with Zion and all those draft picks they gave them.
Yeah, that's a good point. Now, in the chat room, we've got a lot of activity regarding that trade, and a lot of people are saying, you know, that the White Sox got the better of that deal. And I made the statement, I'd rather have Eloy Jimenez over Chris Bryant, and I'm getting shot at with Spears. I imagine you feel the same way as people in the chat room.
You know what? I think that down the line, I think that's what you're going to have. Is you're going to have to take a look at, Chris Bryant got 3 hits last night, okay?
Yep.
He played third base, right?
Correct.
I think Joe Maddon's handled him horribly. I'm sorry, over the last 2 years. From Schwarber leading off when he wasn't ready to, which hurt the rest of the lineup, and I think it hurt Bryant to anything else. That being said, it would be tough for me to let go of Chris Bryant right now for Eloy Jimenez, even though we've seen some signs. We've also seen signs from Chris Bryant that he's not even supposed to be in his prime yet. Do I worry about his frailty? Yeah. But do I think they can win without him? No. And I think he's an important lineup. So I will respectfully disagree with you. But ask me this question again 3 years from now, and you might be right.
Okay, we'll talk about it in 3 years. I got it on
All right, what date is that going to be? Hold on
It's
here.
going to be 2021, June 1st.
I'm just trying to make it to next week.
You and me both, brother.
My God, are you kidding me?
Our man NB Dub in the chat room
I
makes
love NB Dub.
He's the guy that helped you out with the information on that bet.
Thank you, NB Dub. You saved me money.
He's awesome. And he makes an awesome point here. He says, I don't think that giving up a young bat like Eloy Jimenez for a cost-controlled pitcher with a championship window for the Cubs open is too much to give. I think that's a great point by NB Dub.
I'm with look, the Cubs was an immediate need. Now look at is Quintana 4-6 because his ERA is 3.87. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And he's an innings eater. I think he's a reliable guy. I think they need the guy. I think that he's found a home here. Okay, his record over the since he's been a Cub, is 20-14. That's not too bad. His ERA right now is 3.87. I'd like to see his ERA go down. In the National League, his ERA should be better than last year's 4.03, but they can't win without him, especially with Darvish right now being up and down, especially with any type of injury situation. Quintana, when you look at games started and stuff like that, he has started 32 last year, 14 and 18, then 32, 32, 32. So the guy's been reliable. And I think that's what you need as a fourth or fifth starter.
Totally agree. And speaking of reliable, I want to do a shout out to Cole Hamels, who in yesterday's game had a brilliant game of pitching over 7 innings, and he achieved his 2,500 career strikeouts. He's been with the Cubs now a year. I think this was an excellent signing. He's 6-2 with a low ERA. And then I find an article over at CBS Sports regarding Cole Hamels. It's written by a guy named, let's see, what's his name here? Matt Snyder. And Matt brings up
Matty Snyder?
Do you know him?
No.
I don't know him either.
I know.
First time I read his stuff, but he brings up an interesting thing about Cole Hamels. Cole Hamels he says if Cole continues to pitch at the way he's pitching now, deserves serious consideration for the Hall of Fame. Now, overall, he is 162 and 116 with a 3.38 ERA, which puts him in the quality of a lot of other Hall of Famers, who guys who are already in the Hall of Fame. Any thoughts on that, Mike? And I think his contract is up soon, and should the Cubs fork out the money and keep Cole Hamels?
He's not a Hall of Famer yet.
Okay.
He had a rough go of it in Texas. He's back in the National League. I mean, I got to be honest. Maybe he's not an American League pitcher, but I do know this. He's handsome. He's rugged.
Yes.
He's Cole Hamels. And when he was with Philly, I loved him. And Jen Patterson and I used to call him the dreamy Cole Hamels, right? Because he said Chicago was his favorite road town too. So he's got to be thrilled to be pitching here. But I got to be honest with you, he's not ready yet. CC Sabathia, to me, he's 256 wins, got 1 million strikeouts. He's a Hall of Famer. So I think that Hamels has to win over 200, 220. Don't forget, there are guys like Brett Saberhagen, who's got 286 wins. Jim Cott, same thing, that aren't in the Hall of Fame. So, which is, I think that's the way it is, which is criminal. Maybe Belay Levin's in now. I can't even keep track anymore, but he should have been in 10 years ago. So, I think it's a little early right now for him.
Yeah, I agree that it's perhaps too early to talk about, but yeah, if he continues.
But then again, Harold Baines is in the Hall of Fame, so that cancels. Anybody can get in. I'm gonna apply. One time I played catch with Smokey Burgess in the bullpen from the stands. I'm gonna apply.
This is funny. You always bring up such great things. I just throw my little rundown because, like you say in the beginning of the show, the other show, the Monday show. We're not scripted. We're not scripted at all. Do you think that Harold Baines is entering the Hall of Fame because they're trying to find players who did not do steroids, and Harold was definitely one of those guys?
Well, yeah, but I wanted to find good players that didn't do steroids. I don't want him to put Hall of Famers in that don't deserve to be in. Because if he's going in, Buckner should go in. There's a million guys that should go in. Anytime you want to peruse, take a look at these guys that aren't in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Dale Murphy's a 2-time MVP, not in the Hall of Fame. How's that happen? Dale Murphy was a stud, and he's not in the Hall of Fame. You know why? He doesn't probably know Jerry Reinsdorf.
Yeah.
Dale Murphy's a stud.
He is. There's no doubt about it.
He should be in Al Oliver's not in the Hall of Fame.
Wow.
Look up Al Oliver for the Pirates.
Okay.
The guy was a 300 hitter every year. Right?
Yeah, let me look it up. Hold on.
Okay, then they got Rennie Stennett. Rennie Stennett, second base. The Pirates, they get screwed over. And then they put the one guy that shouldn't be in, Bill Mazeroski.
That's right.
The guy hits 260. Al Oliver can't get in, but Bill Mazeroski, because he hit that home run, gets in. I get it. Roberto Clemente's in. Willie Stargell is in. But I don't think Bert Blyleven's in.
Yeah.
I know Jim Katz's not in.
Right, he's not.
It's brutal. It's criminal.
Over 8.
And we're worried about Cole Hamels with 160. We got to wait.
Yeah, there are a lot of really good players like Al Oliver who over 18 years hit .303. I mean, he had consecutive.
How are you not in the Hall of Fame?
Exactly.
But Harold Baines is.
Check this out. And starting in 1972, he hit .312, .292, .321, .280, .323, .308, .324, .323, .319, .309, .331 to lead the league, and on and on and on. I did not finish.
It's criminal.
Yes, it really
but
is.
Harold Baines is in.
That's funny.
Don't even compare the two guys. It's not even a contest.
You're
It's
absolutely
criminal.
right.
It's unbelievable. So when I hear this, look, Aldo didn't tell me we were going to talk about this, folks.
No.
I pulled this stuff out of my ass.
Yeah, I didn't know we were going to talk about it.
Right. I don't know how we even got on it.
I don't know.
But I'm aggravated now. I love it. No, we were talking about the Cubs, Sox, Eloy, and then And then we start talking about Cole Hamels.
Cole Hamels,
and
yeah.
then I say, and then you brought up the Hall of Fame. I'm going, wait a minute.
Yes.
He's won 160 games. Jim Katz won 280.
All right.
Don't you learn from the professor?
Absolutely. Professor Mike North teaching everything.
Professor of nonsense. It's on my diploma that I got on the back of a comic book.
Hey, Mike, do you know more about sports or do you know more about the streets of Chicago? Because, I'm working with you on your autobiography and you've shared stories about, growing up in the tough streets of Chicago and so forth. What do you think if you were to say, I have a PhD in this and an MD or whatever other college degree?
I have a PhD in Streetwise University. It was a wonderful university.
There you go.
It's called Streets, and you get your Streetwise. But when it comes to sports, if anybody wants to debate me without a script about anything or dates, Les Grobstein would beat me. Dates, he's one of those guys, he'll tell you what temperature it was.
It's amazing.
The day Kingman hit the ball on Kenmore, it was 72 degrees, Mike. It was a breezy day. There was 22. He's like one of those guys. He's like the Rain Man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he really is.
When it comes to certain events or when it comes to guys like you just brought up, not in the Hall of Fame, I'll come up with 20 of them. Kenny Boyer's not in the Hall of Fame. He may be in the Hall of Fame. Santa was the last guy to get in of the great third baseman. And so it just irks me when I hear people or when I hear articles. Do some research, man, because there's a lot of 280-game winners or a lot of great pitchers that aren't in the Hall of Fame yet. It was great to see Chuck Mussina get in. I love that guy.
Yeah.
And he's getting in, too. God bless him.
Great guy. All right, well, let's talk about a guy who potentially could get in, especially if he has some good seasons with the Cubs. I think actually he's probably a shoo-in. That's relief pitcher Craig Kimbrell. Joe Madden was asked about Kimbrell and his elevation to the major league roster and what he wanted to see out of Kimbrell while he's in the minors.
Health, just good health, feel good, feel good. Velocity was there, the break on the breaking ball was there, the velocity on the breaking ball is very good. So again, I don't get too worked up about that stuff. It's just about health. If the guy's healthy and he's ready to rock and roll, you put him in the ninth inning, and that's pretty much what we're looking forward to. But
this is going to be a huge boost for the Chicago Cubs team. I mean, you got Kimbrell batting yesterday. Maybe he has better luck against Eloy Jimenez in the ninth inning. This team is in desperate need of relief help, and Kimbrell could be on the roster maybe as early as this weekend or early next week.
Well, I mean, he's been in the league since 2010. His career record is 31-19. He wins 62% of his games. He's got a career ERA of 1.91. They gave him $43 million. He better get it done. But he didn't start in spring training. They're taking their time. They still have, like I said earlier, they're 6 above 500. They should be much better than that. I think you and I can agree on that, Aldo.
Absolutely.
I can't believe they're only 6 above 500, and Milwaukee is leading the pack, So he'll be much added. I think the Cubs, to be honest with you folks, are going to turn it on after the All-Star break. I think they're going to turn it on. I still think they're going through the motions. Their team's not settled. And this Zobrist thing, don't forget what that did to this team. That guy is like a Grandpa Rossi, only this guy could play. You know what I mean?
Yep.
He's a positive influence, a lot of friends. And, and for him to leave that team, that's still a big deal to me that nobody brings up because of the PC society. I mean, you still got to bring up, is the guy coming back in a week? Is the guy never coming back? Why is there this mystery? Tell us. And if you've retired, good. But they said they're trying to keep the door open,
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that. But why do they have to say that? I think if he came in September 10th and go, all right, I got everything cleared up, he's back on the team, don't you?
I think so, and I think that the reason they're not saying anything is just to protect the privacy of, probably I'm speculating here, a messy divorce.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I think that you could put out a statement saying, I guess they did. He's not coming back for the time being.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, now They don't even report injuries anymore. Everything's become this personal clip. You know, you're in the public domain.
Yep.
And Hollywood movie stars and everybody else, they get, I think they get a lot harsher treatment than sports stars. When did it become, when you pay a guy $40 million, that, hey, and you get all the adulation? Sometimes the garbage comes, there's a little garbage that leaks out. But see, the teams in this town control the media. I'm not saying you got to trash his marriage. I'm not saying you got to say good about his marriage. I'm not even saying to speculate. Just say things still are progressing, or give us some messages, because people love Ben Zobrist. Can I honestly ask you a question?
Sure.
Do you think could he have been killed?
No,
I don't know.
No, I don't think
You
so.
know what I'm saying, though?
Yes,
I know
I
it.
do.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Mentally, he's been killed.
That was a curveball. I couldn't hit that one. Has he been killed?
No, but you know what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
With no information at all, you don't know what's going on.
No, I agree. I've been on this soapbox for the last few years doing podcasts here. I want more information. I think, like you said it perfectly. These teams are in the public domain, and we as fans are investors. We're like stockholders, and we want more information. Now, I understand that for strategic purposes, you're not going to tell us if you're going to steal on this count, or you're not going to tell us what play you're going to run on 3rd and 5. But we need information in terms of players' health. There's no reason to conceal that. There's no reason to conceal when a player takes a leave of absence for some reason. Try to keep those lines of communications with your fans who pay the bills, keep them wide open. So I'm with you.
And I'm not saying, we're on Ben's, we want everything to turn out for him.
Absolutely.
We said that the other day. I just don't think, nowadays, such and such has been dismissed from the team for personal reasons. Such and such has been dismissed from the team because of lower body injury. I mean, so-and-so's injured. What kind of injury? Lower body injury. What is going on?
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly. And as Heart 4803 says in the chat room, and you have said many times, that sports reporters in the clubhouse, they know, but they don't want to lose their credentials.
Right.
And I know for years, since when I first started listening to you at The Score, you were critical of the relationship a lot of sports reporters have with their teams.
It's horrible.
Because they're not doing their job.
80% of them are kiss asses. And everybody in Chicago, believe me this, people that watch the TV, the radio, I'm going to tell you this. I would only say this to everybody. For the guys out there or the ladies who think they're all that in sports media, sports radio, sports TV, the people know who the good ones are. Oh, yeah. Not the ones who are promoted by their pals in the media, period.
Mm-hmm. Very, very
That's how
good
it is.
point.
The fans know who the good ones are or the bad ones are. And the fans know that information is withheld. And I understand privacy issues. But, just like this Jose Altuve, he had a mild hamstring strain, they said. You know how long ago? 30-some games ago.
Yeah, that's
and
not
he's
mild.
Just coming back.
Yeah, that's not mild.
Right?
Right.
How about what happened with Durant?
Yep, very good point.
He's fine, or we don't know, or they don't have any idea. I mean, seriously, it's gotten to the point where the teams control the media so much that a reporter, even who's a reporter or a talk show host who depends on the relationship of the teams. I seen it happen when I was playing, and we didn't even cover teams, but the reporters that did.
Yep.
And there were some that were good, and there were some that were jock sniffers.
Yep.
Period.
Very, very
And we
true.
knew it at the station.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some that will share information, some that won't.
Yep.
There's some that work for the team. There's some that will say, hey, guess what? What? Jake Arrieta has lost some velocity on his fastball. Oh, good. I'll print that tomorrow, Theo. You know?
Sure.
Just by him saying it.
Right, right. Hey, have you ever heard of a Chicago sports writer or sports reporter, or really from any town, who has lost their credentials, their access to covering the team because they reported on something that the team was upset about?
I've heard of talk show hosts. I've heard of TV hosts. I've heard of writers. I've heard of people. Yeah, of course. Absolutely, there have. Of course. I'm not going to. I could name you 5 names, 6 names, 7 names. But, I think some of these guys are trying to get back in, or some don't want things known. But I'll give you a perfect example. Okay. Chet Kopic, I thought, deserved a spot somewhere, but he did something wrong years ago. Right?
Oh, well, yeah, there's a lot of stories about that. You know them better than anyone else, I guess.
Well, all I'm saying is I'm just giving it, and Chet's gone now, but Chet was terrific. But if you make people mad,
absolutely.
If you're too harsh on the teams, you're going to have a problem down the line. Unless you don't care, and that's where I came in. I didn't care, because if I would have cared from day one, there'd be no score. Period. I couldn't worry about if this owner was going to get mad at me, if that owner was going to get mad at me. I couldn't. Is this team, because they were all mad at me. I'd get credentials. I'd get stare downs.
Yep.
But I didn't care. You've been in the business, Aldo. You know the same thing.
Absolutely. Very, very, very
That's
true.
just the way it is. But I didn't care. And I got paid. And I still don't care. And I'm doing well. And I'm working with you, and I'm working with ESPN. Yeah. How is it out there? I'm working at ESPN. So I'm having the time of my life right now.
I love it. And you know what?
Vegas Scores and Odds. Can I tell you about Vegas Scores and Odds?
Please do.
You go to @Vegas Scores and Odds, @VSAO. Pick packages ranging from daily to weekly to monthly, or how about for the whole year. Dial up 1-800-808-3419. That's 1-800-808-3419 right now and win with me. Hey, punch this number. It's awesome. Great people. Great times. We're having great conversation tonight. I know the guys, Maurice and all the guys, Ronnie and all of them at Vegas. They love me at Vegas Scores and Odds. They love Aldo. They love the VSAO show. Period. End of story. Check us out on Twitter, 1-800-808-3419. Check out the leaderboard and have some fun.
All right. That means it is time.
Yeah!
This is indeed a very, very, very special treat to all the listeners of VegasScoresandOdds.com presents the Mike North Advantage. Every Wednesday, about halfway through the show, Mike offers up 3 free picks for your perusal. I think that's the pronunciation of that word. So that you can make some money. That's right. Mike was 2-0 yesterday over at Vegas Scores and Odds. He's got a great overall record. Put your trust in Mike North. Mike North, it is all yours.
Thanks, Aldo. By the way, folks, when I tweeted out last night, it's going to be Chicago 5, Chicago 2. What I did was I basically had made that pick on Vegas Scores and Odds. But I couldn't tell you that. What I picked was the under last night. So when I put down in code to my 100-some-thousand followers, 120-some-thousand followers, and to the folks at Bears Barroom, and to ESPN 1000, and to Vegas Scores and Odds, and to all the guys in the chat room and girls, and all the ladies and men that follow me, I'm telling you to take the under. 5-2 was the under. And I was hoping somebody would catch on, and some people did. But I had to make the pick on Vegas Scores and Odds because I knew it was going to be a winner. Now, Aldo's going, Jesus.
People are like, code. All right, I got to follow those codes now. Everyone in the chat room, okay, I get you, Mike.
What the hell is this code? I just put it up last night. Chicago 5, Chicago 2. Total 7. But that's all. Aldo's going, for God's sake, dear Lord on high. If you don't make a pick soon, I'm going to join those guys that help the people get up Mount Everest. Let's go. Okay, here we go. First, we got tonight, ladies and gentlemen. That's why I like the 3 o'clock games, okay? Tonight, we have the Rockies versus the Diamondbacks. John Gray versus Zach Greinke. Rockies 38-34. Diamondbacks 38-36. Diamondbacks are minus 154. Take the Rockies plus the 1.5 on the run line at minus 155. That's number one. Folks, don't blink your eyes. I saw the one guy blinking his eyes at me. Another guy hits his head. I've been winning. Now, now the next one. Take the 9, under 9 in the Colorado game. Take it. Greinke, Gray. Hey, it might end up 11-0, but you got some stud pitchers going tonight. I know they can hit. This is pathetic, folks. Colorado, San Diego put up 92 runs in a 4-game series last week. Ooh. 92 runs. You know how pathetic that is? That's 23 runs a game. That's pathetic baseball. No stealing. No, just home runs, strikeouts, and walks. But that's pathetic. And that tells you the ball has got some juice in it. Now, last but not least, with Colorado and an under 9 Colorado, I'm going to tell you right now, I think tonight, John Lester, who's been struggling, puts it together. I think Giolito, who's been unbelievable, best pitcher in baseball, but no pitcher goes unscathed. He's 10-1, I believe. He's been a stud. I think the Cubs, and plus, I think the Cubs as a batting order, and losing that game last night, will bounce back tonight. The system gave me the Cubs as a strong play tonight at minus 140. So we have Colorado with the run line, 1.5. We have the under 9, and we have the Cubs right now. And let me just check real quick where their line is right now, because they bet as we speak. It's still at minus 140, and the over-under 7. So they don't think there's going to be a lot of runs maybe scored, or at least Vegas thinks 7's about the right total. But I think the Cubs win that ball game tonight. John Lester, he'll approach this game like it's a playoff game tonight.
I am so hyped up for this game tonight between the Sox and Cubs. Oh, my goodness. Now, you're absolutely right about Lester. He has had a rough go. He has a 7.59 ERA in his last 6 outings. But in 17 career games against the White Sox, Lester is 9-6. His ERA a little high at 4.13. But I got a gut feeling that I think you're going to see one of his better performances of the year tonight. I think there's a lot on the line. Like you said earlier in the show, and you've been saying on Twitter, this is playoff atmosphere. This is a game for the ages, and I wish this was nationally televised, because the nation, as you said earlier in the show, this rivalry between the Cubs and the Sox is really
brutal.
Special. Yep.
It's a brutal. They don't like each other.
No.
They'll talk to each other. They read about each other. You know what? But this rivalry, really, when you say, do athletes, professional athletes, really not like other people? Yeah. Right. They don't like the other teams. Look at Tampa Bay. I bet the Yankees say they destroyed Tampa Bay, and Blake Snell, the Cy Young Award pitcher for Tampa Bay, he lasted a third of an inning today against the Yankees. A third. They put up a ton. And this guy, Gary Sanchez, for instance, 9 RBIs in his last 4 games. I mean, so anything happens in baseball. But why is John Lester favored against Giolito at minus 140? It makes no sense. The White Sox aren't intimidated. They just split with the Yankees, 2 games apiece, against a very good Yankee team that just beat the crap out of Tampa Bay for 3 games. Yet they're coming to Wrigley Field. And Giolito's 10-1. He's been unbeatable. And yet they're not favored. And by the Cubs are minus 140. That's healthy, folks. You got to bet 140 to win 100 against Louis Giolito tonight.
Wow. I just saw this. Giolito has 65 strikeouts over his last 57 innings. That is a remarkable hot streak. Wow.
And yet it's baseball. This is basketball. The Sox are favored. This is baseball. They're playing a playoff contending yearly team in the Chicago Cubs, who were beat up yesterday by the White Sox. And the Cubs, I want to see how they respond tonight. I really do. This is a pivotal type of situation. I'm not saying it's a be-all, end-all, but the White Sox have no shot. And the White Sox would probably, I know Reinsdorf would like nothing better for them to beat the Cubs. And Hawk Harrelson, I mean, he just hates them. So there's a lot of, back and forth between the two teams. It makes it exciting.
Yeah, definitely does. Now let's continue on the betting theme and talk a little bit about the Chicago Bears. There's a sports book who has put the Bears at making the playoffs just behind three other teams, the Rams, the Saints, and Eagles. They've got them at minus 115 and with a 55.1% chance of making the playoffs. So what are your thoughts on that, Mike?
I think that's where they should be. I heard Brett Favre say the other day that Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback and the best player in football. And then I wondered. I wonder if he's ever said to Aaron Rodgers, I think your lower crotchal area smells like evergreen. I don't understand. Who are they got? I mean, out of nowhere. They used to hate each other. Green Bay, I don't think has the players around Aaron Rodgers. I think if you noticed, the Bears are fourth, but they are first as far as Vegas is concerned about their division. Am I right?
That is correct. They got the Packers at a 52% chance of making the playoffs. Again, the Bears at 55.1.
Boy, I look at the Packers, and they've lost a lot of people.
Yep.
And they've lost a lot of men around them.
A rookie head coach.
Aaron Rodgers is still good, and I think people bet off of the Aaron Rodgers, mojo. But I can't take the Packers. And it's happened before, but I cannot take the Packers, this Packers team, ahead of this Chicago Bear team. They're an up-and-coming team, and I think that the Bears, this might be a 10-6 year, 9-7. Maybe a wild card year. Who knows? I just think the Bears are the best team in the division. I do. Unless Minnesota's going to come out of nowhere. What happened to them? Look at Detroit. They're supposed to win every year. They never do. And Green Bay, if you're going to ask me would you buy them as a stock, up or down, I'd say the arrow's pointing down.
Yeah. Yeah, the thing with the Vikings, and Shane, the smartest man in the bar room, Marsaw, shared this stat.
How is my guy Shane?
He's doing great. He's collecting more knowledge for future Chicago Bears show, so that's what he does.
Well, of course he is.
He sent
All
me,
he has to do is listen to Dad.
There you go. He sent me, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but Kirk Cousins' record against winning teams is pathetic, as is Matt Stafford's, and then obviously we're seeing Aaron Rodgers, while he is still a tremendous quarterback, but there's no doubt.
Isn't Clay Matthews gone?
Clay Matthews is gone. He's no longer a member of the Green Bay Packers, and they
Jordy Nelson is gone from those great teams.
Right.
I mean, where is everybody?
Big turnover, yeah, and then the new rookie head coach taking over from Mike McCarthy is Bob LaFleur.
Yeah, how do you pick them?
I don't see how you can pick them. I don't see it at all.
I mean, really, LaFleur's the coach. You got this guy Nagy. I'm just saying it to everybody that I don't want to start again on the Parkey stuff, but I'm hearing some bad things. I mean, they can't find nobody. Parkey's catching some sun in Florida. Maybe meet with them, talk to them, tell them the way things are, and just invite them back. It'd be good copy. And maybe he may turn into, a Banshee. I understand. You don't have to take him. You don't have to sign him. But don't you just talk to him? Is he interested? Maybe try to patch things up with. Because if they don't find a kicker, I'm not. Guess what? That 55 is going to go down a little bit. That 55%.
Yep, that's so true. And we read.
Are we going to be crying like when Robbie Gold left?
Oh my goodness, I don't think so. Greg Braggs is saying, "Wait, what? Cody Barkey? No.
All I said, Greg, is you bring them back to camp. You don't sign them. But you know what? From what I heard, we could have kicked better at these tryouts. Remember when we were kids? You try to kick it, through the goalpost at the schoolyard? I kicked a 32-yarder once. I never forgot it.
Greg Braggs would rather have you kick than me, than the Cody Parkey, that is.
Well, you know what? We'll see, because sometimes things turn around. I would ask you this. I asked this Monday night. What happens if he gets picked up and he goes 15-20, and the Bears lose to go to the playoffs because of a mixed field goal? That's all I'm saying. Just try to bring the guy in one more time. See, you know what? The worst thing you do is have a closed mind. Nagy's supposed to be a pretty open-minded guy, and I know he was pissed about it. We were all pissed about that guy, him showboating on TV, trying to get him played. Nobody was madder than me. You remember?
Yep.
The little martyr, the pity card. I was calling him, pity me, I.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But if we can't find a kicker, let me ask you something.
Okay.
You ever watch a movie and somebody's looking for somebody to captain a boat for them,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And they're looking for somebody, and they go into the town. They go, well, all the captains are out fishing. Well, that guy's got a captain's hat. Well, yeah, but he's a drunk. But does he know how to do a boat? Does he know how to drive a boat? Yeah. They go talk to him. The guy drives the boat. He's the only captain. They brought in the drunk. That would be bring in Cody Parkey, see if he can impress, apologize. Did he ever apologize to the Bears?
No, not publicly anyway.
Well, because he thinks he was the scapegoat.
Well, he was.
Fine.
Somebody
We
had to-
understand. He was convenient. But he did miss, too. He wasn't a scapegoat. He had a hand in it. But we've talked about the whole team breakdown. But
sure.
he made a bad move at the end, and he seems to be content with being a free agent that nobody wants.
Yeah, that is very, very, very true.
I'm on my game today. I'm rattling away. I'm rattling away today. And all those going, you sure as hell are. Rattling away.
All right, let's rattle away at our last topic here. The NBA draft is this Thursday. The Chicago Bulls own the 7th pick. And, Mike, I started thinking a little bit about the fact, well, they're clearly not going to get any of the top 2 players. I don't think the Bulls even have the resources to trade up and try to get the 2nd overall pick, which will definitely be Ja Morant, a point guard that the Bulls could definitely use. But there are other players down where the Bulls are picking who could potentially be an outstanding NBA player. And I'll give you an example of this, Mike. Back in 2009, a basketball player came out of Davidson University, and a scouting report on him said he is far below NBA standard in regard to explosiveness and athleticism. Has not played against solid competition while at Davidson. Struggles defensively, getting around screens. This scouting report, and I could go on for 20 minutes with all the negatives. This scouting report is about Steph Curry. So,
yes, it is. Exactly. And I knew it right away.
I should have asked you.
Seth Greenberg. Mm-hmm. Seth Greenberg was the coach at Virginia. And Steph Curry, his father went there. And Steph Curry walked on. And Seth Greenberg told him to get lost. And that's what Seth Greenberg in my world's known for, okay? I don't care how smart he thinks he is. He could have had Steph Curry, but he read everybody's scouting report. You know the problem is? Suburban basketball player, little guy, frail. Nobody must have watched the kid. Right. Because now they show films of him in high school. He's hitting 28-footers.
Yep.
So I'm going to tell you what the draft's turned into. A bunch of average basketball players, except for a couple guys. The draft used to be potent. Can I give you the 19? You love, Mike, can you do something really flary and different tonight? He always asks me. Aldo always asks me on the phone. I go, yeah. Really, Aldo doesn't ask me that. He just says, please, don't get us in trouble.
Exactly.
Okay, this was the 1985 draft. Patrick Ewing, Wayman Tisdale, Benoit Benjamin, Xavier McDaniel, John Konkak, Joe Klein, Chris Mullen went 7th, Detlef Schrempf 8th, Charles Oakley 9.
Wow.
I mean, listen, Karl Malone 13th, Joe Dumars 18th. Joe Dumars would go 1 today, or 2 after Zion. Where would Chris Mullen go in today's draft? No, after Zion.
Yeah.
I mean, the basketball game itself, you look at some of these names back in the day, And you can't believe some of the players that dropped that low. A.C. Green, 23rd. The guy played for 18 years. Terry Catley. How about Bill Wennington, 16? He was a good pick.
Yep.
They're not all going to be superstars.
Yep.
You just don't see it anymore. We got 2 picks tonight, and then who else is playing? We don't know anybody.
Right.
Right?
Correct. Well, and go ahead. I'm sorry.
Who are the Bulls taking?
I am hopeful that they will pick this kid named Darius Garland, and because he reminds me a little bit of Steph Curry. The Bulls have the.
Oh my God!
I know.
Oh my God! Help me, Lord.
I'm comparing Jefferson Starship to the Rolling Stones. I know.
And may Aldo always be a good man and a man. But please, may you make his mind right. You are the best. I agree. Look, I understand. They make these stupid comparisons, which automatically puts pressure on the kid, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Hey, you know who they compared you to? Oh, Steph Curry. You're shitting me. I'm doomed. I'll never be as good as that guy, you know?
That is so true. It is so true. But here's
right.
Here's
I remember there was a kid named Chris Patero. Sparky Anderson said, "Chris Patero, my third baseman on the Detroit Tigers. He's a rookie. Someday will be as good a gloveman as Brooks Robinson." That was the end of Chris Patero. That's too much weight.
Yeah, it really,
Put on a
really is.
kid.
Don't ever say that publicly. Don't even tell a kid privately that. All
right.
So here's the thing. Steph Curry was the 7th pick of the 2009 NBA draft. And so
Which is a good point.
Yeah. So my point is perhaps the Bulls can stumble on somebody. Of course, not Steph Curry. Steph is probably, the greatest outside shooter in the history of basketball and one of the top 5 competitors in basketball. If not top 5, then definitely top 10. But perhaps they can find a poor man Steph Curry, somebody with a reliable jump shot, somebody who's a leader and so forth and can help this team get to the next level. Now, if one of the questions I wanted to ask you is if they believe that a kid like Garland is capable of being all those positives, do you think that the Bulls should take a page out of Ryan Pace's draft notebook and trade up to get him and not risk having him chosen before the 7th pick? Because a lot of people are saying Garland will probably go 4th or 5th or as late as 6th.
Oh, my God. We're going to move up in the draft for Judy Garland. or Gary Garland, the music man. I mean, seriously, I don't mean to make... No, the kid's probably a talented player. But nobody even knows who this guy is. That's my point. And we're going to move up for him. Here's what I would do. If the Bulls want to do that, fine. But you know as well as I do, Aldo. You know what, John? If I could talk to John, not Gar Foreman.
Yeah.
Because I'm smarter than him. So if I could talk to
without
John,
a doubt, absolutely.
I would tell John, study long, study wrong. I think they've spent so much time trying to put together a playoff team immediately. Look, the Zach LaVine thing, the Chris Dunn thing, remember those guys?
Oh, yeah.
Remember they were going to lead us for the next 10 years?
Yes.
Now all of a sudden I'm hearing they're all trade bait.
That's right.
So here we go again with Rebuild 5. I mean, they don't know what they want to do. They kept changing tactics every year instead of sticking to one plan and believing in it. And then when Derrick Rose went down, I'll give them cover on this. That they didn't expect that to happen, and neither did we, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
but they also got lucky by getting them.
Yes, without a doubt.
So what do you do when you have tragedy like that? It takes time to dig out, or do you go get a guy like LeBron James or Kevin Durant? Why won't Reinsdorf go out and get a big price free agent? Because he's tight.
Yep.
Period.
Well, you bring up...
You got Chicago as a team. The Chicago Bulls. Why are we at least talking to Kimball Walker? Why are the Lakers talking to Kimball Walker? Why is Michael Jordan want him back? But why aren't we talking to him? Why aren't we picking up free agents? This team's not good enough. Nobody Nobody believes in Paxson. Nobody believes in Foreman for sure. That guy, he's the guy that sits in the chair at the street stop with the stop sign in his hand and helps the kids cross the street. I mean, my God, it's unbelievable. It gets me hot. They're playing around with the fans. They should have signed, within the last 3 years, a stud. It's the Chicago Bulls.
Yep. You know,
Everybody's going Gordon Hayward to Boston, LeBron James, to Los Angeles, Kevin Durant. I mean, here, they're not the only ones. You know what I can't get out of my head?
What's that?
That at one point, Aldo, you had Westbrook, James Harden, and Durant on one team.
Mm-hmm.
And that team, if they stuck it out, would have been great. But they didn't have a strong enough organization to keep them together. And that's exactly what happened. Then they started feuding, just like this piece of you-know-what, Chris Paul. I said he's a loser from day one. Now what does the guy want to do? He's saying him and Harden have problems and it's unsalvageable. Yeah. Hey, I know what you're trying to do. You want to be a pain in the ass. You're a bad guy. You outed Harden and you in public to get off the team and get kicked off so you can go play with LeBron.
Yep, that is true.
It's absolutely just a horrendous, overrated. He puts up points as a basketball player who's never won anything.
Would you want Chris Paul on the Bulls?
No. Because you know why? He's at the end of his career, and he can't win. He wouldn't want to come to the Bulls because he only goes where they're loaded. He only goes to teams that are loaded, like the Clippers with DeAndre Jordan, Blake Griffin. Why didn't they win there? That team was terrific. You had J.J. Redick. He only goes, then he goes to the Rockets, and he can't win there. And now he wants to get out of there. And him and Harden did those commercials, and I'm hearing they didn't get along for a year, which I don't believe, because some NBA reporter would have found out about it, Aldo.
Yeah,
you know that.
I agree with that.
So it's a bunch of BS, and he just wants to get out. To me, he's got a yellow streak, period.
Yeah. Well, and let me throw some other free agent names at you, and you tell me if you'd go
Go ahead,
after them.
calm me down. I'm hot about that kid. He's to get out of a contract and pretend you don't get along with somebody and throw the guy under the bus. He's just a useless loser, man.
I hear you. Jimmy Butler.
No.
Really?
Because he's going to be, listen, they're thinking he may be gone. He doesn't stay somewhere for long.
That's true.
He's going to be on 4, 5, 6 teams by the time his career's over because look what happened to Philadelphia. He got in people's faces. What did that do for anybody?
Didn't help them win.
Didn't help him.
Well, he wants to go to L.A. He's become L.A., you know.
Oh, got to go. He's not a superstar. He's a very good player. He's got to have Joel Embiid. He's got to have other people, which is fine. Now he wants to go to L.A. Watch, I'll tell you this about Jimmy Butler. If LeBron gets in his face, LeBron's going to see what it's like to be the little man. Because Jimmy Butler's a serious dude, man. He's a serious dude.
That would be really fascinating to see.
Wouldn't
Butler.
it?
Yes, that would be
You know Jimmy don't take no BS. LeBron yells at him like he used to yell at Kyrie. Yeah. LeBron going to end up in the 5th row.
That's right.
Because LeBron's fake tough when it comes to fight. He's fake tough.
That is good. All right, what about 29-year-old Klay Thompson?
Love him. And you could get him, but he'll never leave. See, they're going to pay him. They got to pay. They're going to pay him.
Even with
they
the
can
ACL?
give him the most money. Golden State. They're not going to get rid of him. He'll sign with Golden State, man. He'll never leave Golden State. I'm going to say that right now. Don't you think?
I don't know. I mean, because it's now Golden State might hit the reset button and just, maybe tank for a season and rebuild for 2020, 2021 season.
They're not tanking while Steph Curry's on that team.
Yeah, I mean,
they're not tanking while Draymond Green's on that team.
They're not
tanking while Klay Thompson's on that team. They don't tank this team. This team will come out next year try to win it all again. Tanking is for losers. That's why the Bulls tank.
I'm with you 100%. I don't like tanking, but I do think that they might hit the reset button.
And tanking's an excuse for being bad. nobody really goes out there to lose. There's not one player that wants to lose. They're just basketball teams like the Bulls who don't have the balls to face the people and say, we're just bad. They give this tanking cramp. Like, if they didn't want to tank, they'd win every game. And the media is as culpable in Chicago as anybody else with the tanking bull. That's what they are.
Yeah.
It's a bunch of BS.
Greg in the chat room says that he hates Chris Paul, but would Zach LaVine for Paul swap help develop what's his name? Marquinhos.
Chris Paul wants to win a championship. He's not coming to the Chicago Bulls, guys. If he comes to the Bulls, I'll fess up and say I was wrong. But I've been pretty right about things. I'm not always right, but I know this. Chris Paul wants to go to the Lakers. He wants to go, maybe, if he could get on Golden State, he would. But I don't think Golden State would want him. They don't need him. He's a showboat regular season hero who doesn't win in the playoffs.
Yeah.
That's what he is.
And-
I'm not the one that wrote the script. He did.
Right.
And then, Aldo, don't you think it's low how low down a guy can be, who's, by the way, gotten commercials up the yin-yang, which is good for him, but he's never done anything that he does and throws Harden under the bus and all this other crap, if it's true. And the media, I can't believe Rick Bucher, some of the other guys, our girl Rachel Nichols, who's the other one? The big kid that works. And all the NBA players. They didn't know that Chauncey Billups, Chauncey Billups, they didn't know Harden and Paul weren't getting along for 2 years? Come on.
Yeah.
That's a close fraternity over there, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Brian Windhorst didn't know. He knows that kid's a good writer.
He really is.
That kid finds out stuff, man.
Yeah.
And he never found that out. So what do they tell him? Start making fun of Harden if you don't like it. And try to get out of your contract. Come play for us. Look, Chris Paul. I've known many Chris Pauls. They're regular season heroes. Period. And by the way, this latest move, the backstab move he pulled, trying to get out, he's a loser.
All right. Everybody in the chat room.
Think I was too bitter about that?
No. You know who's bitter is the people in the chat room because I can't pronounce Laurie Markkinen's last name.
Laurie Markkinen?
Yeah.
Laurie Markkinen? You know what? He's got to get better.
Yeah. Hey, NB Dub just posted Chris Paul's salary in the chat room, and I got to tell you, you don't want to pay $44 million in the year 2021 for that guy.
that low down little, he gets that kind of money.
Unbelievable.
And instead of being a leader, he needs to be a follower because he's not good enough to lead a team to a championship.
Definitely right. All right, the Bulls have a lot of decisions to make. They've got the NBA draft on Thursday.
Including not listening to this last segment.
And NBA free agency starts at the end of the month. John Paxson, you'll have the opportunity to turn this team around, do something good, do something bold. Give Mike North a call and get his advice because at the very least, you will do something that will disrupt the NBA, to disrupt the Chicago basketball fans into thinking, hey, now we've got a chance. This is a ballsy move. Don't sit back and let things come to you. Mike North, call him. Call John Paxson. Call Mike North.
All I want Jerry to do, look, you're getting away with murder. You're going to try to get some gambling money now over at Guaranteed Rate Field or whatever the hell it is. You're going to become a gambling czar now. With some of that money, spend it on a free agent for the fans of the Chicago Bulls who fill your stadium. You and your son Michael should be ashamed of themselves. I'm serious.
I'm with
garbage.
you. I'm with you. Great, strong opinion. Mike, you want to give
Thanks,
another
bud.
shout-out to Vegas Scores and Odds before we sign off?
My God, thank God. Thank God for I was ready to blow my top. I was ready to blow a piston over here. I was like the car. I was like the car that start. And then you go to the guy, you think there's something wrong with the engine? Anyway, punch this number in your phone right now. If you're driving, pull over. Call 1-800-808-3419 for a free pick and info for the premier handicapping site in the country, VegasScoresandOdds.com. It's the only site you can ever need, folks. I love these people. They've been good to me. Been with them since 2011. Have become one of their prominent handicappers. But just don't believe me. Check the records. Check everybody out there. They're doing tremendous. Check all the guys. Tony Sacco, Ray Monahan, John Anthony, Denny Macklin, all of them. Vegas Scores and Odds. Check out the And by the way, it's spelled VEGASSCORESANDODDS.com. And check the tote board, 1-800-808-3419 for the free pick. And remember my picks tonight? The Cubs minus 140. Colorado on the run line, 1.5, and I think it's going at about minus 145, and the under 9 in Colorado. Wow, what a show.
What a show. And let me remind people that we've got a new Bears 100 Proof that we're recording tomorrow night. It'll be on your podcast stream on Friday. Now, live tomorrow night, the Tooch and Joey Mandel will be here.
I love Tooch!
Yes, I love Tooch and Joey as well. They'll be here with a Barfly's box office podcast. They're going to review the movie Men in Black International. Mike, are you going to see that one?
Let me ask you a question. I saw the commercial. Right? Is that the one they had? I never saw any Men in Black franchise.
Not one, huh?
Not one, but I knew it was Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith, right?
Correct. First one was pretty
so
good.
Who's in it now?
I don't know, and I don't know.
Well, isn't there like a woman that's one of the main stars?
Tessa Thompson and one of the Hemsworth brothers. I think the guy that plays Thor.
But one of them is the woman.
Yes, Tessa Thompson.
So how's it Men in Black? I mean, I might be stupid or something. I'm just asking. I mean, ask Tooch right off the bat. Mike wants to know one thing. How is it Men in Black?
I will send him that clip. He can play it, and he can explain it to all
I know
of us.
I know we're playing the gender politics game in this country now, but I saw the thing. I saw a guy and a girl in black suits and a tie. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe she's the sidekick, but she looked pretty major to me.
She is.
You know what I mean, Aldo?
I think she's got the Will Smith role, I believe, Tessa Thompson. Anyways, we'll be listening to Tooch's explanation for that. And I want to remind everybody else that you can follow Mike at the number 2 North on Twitter, and follow Vegas Scores and Odds. That's at VSAO Sports.
And by the way, we got the podcast tonight, right?
That's right. This podcast will be up. It is now 4:15 in Chicago, thereabouts. It'll be up in about 30 minutes. Please share it with your friends. You know what? Something
I got to tell you something after the show today.
Sure.
If something happened to me and somebody asked you, did Mike ever make anybody mad? You'd probably say, well, in this show, probably 6 or 7 different groups. So good luck to you finding the killer.
That's right. That's why the sports fans love you, because you tell it like it is. You share your opinion uncensored, and that's what we need more of nowadays.
And I didn't mean to step on you about the Vegas Scores and Odds, my friend, but I appreciate Vegas Scores and Odds. We appreciate them very, very much, Aldo, right?
Absolutely. They are great. And what's that phone number again, Mike?
Oh, my God, I love when you ask me that. It's off the top of my head, 1-800-808-3419. Somebody asked me my home phone number the other day. I said 1-800-808-3419. They go, no, that's Vegas Scores and Odds. And then I told them my home phone number.
I love it.
Love you, brother.
I love you, too. And thank you, everybody.
See you later.